Why were 168 bodies found in a bog in Florida? In 1982, ground surveys for a new housing estate in Windover, Florida, came across 5 human skulls. Immediately, all building proceedings were stopped and forensic scientists were, of course, brought in. Quickly, it was discovered that these 5 skulls were just the beginning. The bog was filled with 168 human bodies. Radiocarbon dating of the remains showed that, thankfully, they weren't recent. But they weren't just old either. These remains were actually laid to rest in the bog 7,000 years ago. For reference, ancient Greece is said to have begun around 3,000 years ago, and ancient Egypt 5,000 years ago. So these remains were put here 2,000 years before the first pharaoh of Egypt was even born, and they remained untouched until 1982. Analysis of the remains showed that all of them were in some way related, and so it's thought that this was probably the burial ground of a single nomadic tribe that lived in America 7,000 years ago. It's thought that this bog in particular was probably sacred to them, and possibly even viewed as a gateway to another life. But what is perhaps most remarkable about this find is that the conditions of the bog meant that 90 of the 168 brains in these human bodies were preserved, although a fraction of their original size. This was an absolutely unparalleled discovery for researchers and allowed us to examine not only 7,000-year-old human brains, but also the genetics of these people that lived 7,000 years ago.